Lily Watson was very excited about today's field trip. Her class was visiting the new Interstellar Cultural Exchange Center, where aliens from all over the galaxy came to learn about humans. Lily was 8 years old, with curly brown hair and bright green eyes that grew wide as she stepped off the school bus. "Stay together, children," said Ms. Adams, counting heads as 23rd graders lined up at the entrance. "Remember, some of our visitors have never seen human children before." Lily held hands with her best friend Sam Miller, a skinny boy with glasses who knew everything about spaceships. Behind them were Olivia Green, Noah Clark, and Grace Winters. The 5 friends had been inseparable since kindergarten. "I hope we see America," whispered Sam. "They look like big cats that walk on 2 legs. I want to see the floating jellyfish." "Ones," said Grace, who at 7 was the youngest in their group, having skipped a grade. The inside of the center was amazing. The main hall rose 6 stories high with glass walls that showed the stars even though it was daytime. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the hall. Some had too many arms. Others had no arms at all. Some rolled instead of walked. Some changed colors as they moved. A tall, blue-skinned woman with silver hair greeted their class. "Welcome, young humans. I am Diplomat Ilara from Proxima Centauri. Today you will learn about your galactic neighbors, and they will learn about you." The children followed Ilara through exhibits about different planets and species. Lily loved the room where they could touch alien plants that moved when you got close. Noah, who loved chemistry, asked a million questions about alien atmospheres. Olivia, who was good at strategy games, was fascinated by how different species built their cities. Then the alarm started. Red lights flashed. A voice spoke in both English and several alien languages. "Warning. Unauthorized vessels approaching. All visitors please move to designated safety areas." Diplomat Ilara's blue face turned pale. "This is not part of the tour. Children, we must—" She never finished her sentence. The walls shook. The lights went out. When emergency lights came on seconds later, something was very wrong. Creatures that looked like giant insects with shiny black armor poured into the main hall. They carried weapons that shot blue light. When the blue light hit adults, they froze in place like statues. "Varric's troops," gasped Ilara before a blue beam hit her. She stood frozen, her mouth still open. Ms. Adams pushed several children behind a display. "Run to the back offices," she whispered. "Hide until security." A blue beam hit her too. Panic broke out. Adults tried to protect the children but were quickly frozen. The bug soldiers moved through the room, capturing everyone. But something strange happened when they tried to capture the children. When the blue beams hit Lily and her friends, they felt dizzy and their heads hurt. But they didn't freeze. "It tickles," said Grace, rubbing her eyes after being hit. A large Varric soldier made angry clicking sounds with its mandibles. It aimed again at Noah, who ducked behind a potted plant. "They can still move," the soldier said in rough English. "How is this possible?" Lily grabbed Sam's hand. "Come on," she whispered. While the soldiers were confused, the 5 friends crawled under a display table and through a small door labeled maintenance. They found themselves in a narrow hallway with pipes running along the ceiling. "We need to hide," said Olivia, always the planner of the group. "They'll come looking for us." "This way," said Sam, pointing down the hall. "I saw a map earlier. These tunnels go all through the building." The children moved as quietly as they could. Behind them, they heard the maintenance door bang open and angry clicking sounds. "In here," whispered Grace, pointing to a small opening in the wall. It was a ventilation shaft, just big enough for children to crawl through. Grace went first, followed by Lily and the others. They crawled until they reached a junction where the shaft widened. Through a grate, they could see down into a large room where the bug soldiers were gathering. A bigger bug with red markings spoke to the others. "I am Admiral Kuztak of the Varric's Empire," it said. "Our mission is to capture human specimens for study. Their resistance to our neural technology is unexpected but not a problem. Secure all adults. Find the young ones who escaped." Lily's heart beat fast as she watched through the grate. "They seem very interested in the fact that we didn't freeze," whispered Sam. Their weapons must work differently on kids than grown-ups, said Noah, thinking hard. Maybe because our brains are still growing? What do we do now? Asked Grace, her voice shaking a little. Olivia's face was serious. We need to free the adults and call for help. How? Asked Lily. There are so many soldiers and we're just kids. Sam adjusted his glasses with a determined look. My mom works in engineering. She says all systems have weaknesses. We just need to find the weak spots in theirs. Below them, Admiral Kazatak was examining a frozen human security guard. Interesting. Their adults are physically stronger than ours, but their young are physically weaker. Yet the young resist our neural disruptors. Another soldier approached. Admiral, we found strange objects in the children's possession. It held up Lily's backpack and dumped out her lunch, books, and a small video game. The Admiral picked up the game with his pincer-like hand. What is this device? It appears to be a primitive entertainment system, said the soldier. Study everything. I want to know why human offspring are so different from other species. The Admiral clicked thoughtfully. In most species, adults are the dangerous ones, young are helpless until maturity. But in humans, something is different. The children looked at each other with wide eyes. They don't understand us, whispered Olivia. That gives us an advantage, said Sam with a small smile. Noah nodded, a mischievous look appearing on his face. I have an idea. Remember the science fair last month? I made a battery using lemons. How does that help us? Asked Lily. I saw a cleaning closet back there. Noah pointed behind them. It has chemicals that are way stronger than lemons. We could make something that would surprise those bugs. You mean like a weapon? Asked Grace, sounding unsure. More like a distraction, said Noah. Something to confuse them while we figure out how to help the adults. Lily thought for a moment, then nodded. Let's do it. They think we're just scared. Kids hiding somewhere. They don't know that human children can be pretty dangerous when we need to be. As they crawled back toward the cleaning closet, Lily remembered something her grandfather once told her. The most powerful weapon humans have isn't our strength. It's our ability to solve problems in ways no one expects. The 5 children were about to prove how right he was. The cleaning closet was small and smelled like lemons. Noah examined the bottles on the shelves while the other children kept watch. Perfect, he said, grabbing a bottle with a warning label. This has ammonia, and this one has bleach. We need to keep these separate until we're ready to use them. What will they do? Asked Lily. Mixed together, they make a gas that smells really bad. It could make the bug soldiers cough and get confused. But it's dangerous, so we have to be careful. Sam found some empty spray bottles. We can use these. Good idea, said Noah, and we'll need these masks. He pointed to dust masks hanging on a hook. While Noah and Sam prepared their chemical mixture, Olivia drew a rough map of the center on the back of a flyer. We need a plan, she said. First, find out where they're keeping the adults. Second, figure out how to shut down those freeze ray things. Third, call for help. Grace, who was keeping watch through a crack in the door, suddenly gasped. Someone's coming! The children quickly gathered their supplies and squeezed into a storage cabinet. Through the small gaps between the cabinet doors, they watched as a Varric soldier entered. It moved around the closet, touching things with its antennae. Human young detected in this area, it said into a device on its arm. Searching now. The soldier's antennae twitched as it moved closer to their hiding spot. Lily held her breath. Then Noah did something brave but risky. He pushed a small bottle of soap through the gap in the cabinet. It rolled across the floor. The bug soldier spun around at the noise. As it bent to examine the bottle, Sam pushed the cabinet door open with all his strength. The heavy door knocked the soldier off balance. Before it could recover, Olivia sprayed their chemical mixture at its face. The Varrics made a high-pitched squealing sound. It dropped its weapon and rubbed at its eyes with its front legs. Run! Shouted Sam, and the 5 children darted past the confused soldier. This way, said Olivia, consulting her map. The ventilation system leads to the main control room. The children crawled through the vents, careful not to make noise. Through grates along the way, they saw more Varric soldiers searching for them. They also saw adults, human and alien, held in glowing blue fields that kept them frozen in place. "They've turned the East Wing into their command center," whispered Sam as they peered through a grate into a large room. Admiral Kuzatak stood in the center, surrounded by screens and soldiers working on strange devices. "Any sign of the human, young?" asked the Admiral. "Negative, Admiral," replied a soldier. "But we found evidence they are actively moving through the facility. One troop encountered them and was temporarily incapacitated." "Incapacitated? By untrained offspring?" The Admiral's mandibles clicked angrily. "Impossible. The injured soldier reported they used chemical weapons, Admiral." The Admiral's compound eyes seemed to narrow. "How could they create weapons so quickly? Our intelligence says human young are helpless and dependent on adults." "Maybe they're smarter than you think," Grace whispered, a little too loudly. The Admiral's head snapped up. "Did you hear that? Search the ventilation systems." "Time to move," said Olivia. The children crawled quickly away from the command center. They reached a junction where the vent split into 3 directions. "Now what?" asked Lily. Sam pointed to a small panel on the wall of the vent. "This looks like an access terminal. I've seen my mom use ones like this at her job." He pried open the panel to reveal a small screen and keypad. "Can you get into the center's computer system?" asked Olivia. Sam adjusted his glasses. "I think so. My mom showed me some basic commands once when I visited her at work." After a few minutes of typing, the screen changed. "I'm in. I can see the whole building's systems." "Look for something about those blue force fields," suggested Lily. Sam scrolled through menus. "Here, emergency containment fields. They've reprogrammed our own security systems to trap people." "Can you turn them off?" asked Noah. "Not all at once, but maybe one section at a time." Sam typed more commands. "There, I've turned off the fields in the west corridor." Through another nearby grate, they watched as several adults suddenly became unfrozen. The people looked confused for a moment, then quickly hid when they heard Varric soldiers approaching. "We need to talk to them," said Lily. "Let them know. We're trying to help." "There's an announcement system," said Sam, still typing. "I can maybe patch us through to specific rooms using these emergency speakers." After more typing, Sam nodded to Lily. "Go ahead. This should reach just the west corridor where we freed those people." Lily leaned close to the terminal. "Hello. My name is Lily Watson. I'm here with 4 other kids from Westfield Elementary. We found a way to turn off the freeze fields. The bug soldiers can't freeze kids like they can grown-ups." A moment later, a man's voice came through the speaker, very quietly. "This is Dr. Alan Wilson from the science department. There are 5 of us here. Are you children safe?" "We're hiding in the vents," said Lily. "We're trying to find a way to help everyone." "That's very brave, but very dangerous," said Dr. Wilson. "You should focus on keeping yourselves safe until rescue arrives." "But we don't know when that will be," said Olivia, leaning toward the speaker. "And we've already figured out some ways to stop the soldiers." They explained about the chemical spray and the ventilation system. "Remarkable," said Dr. Wilson. "But please be careful. The Varrics are dangerous predators." "We have an idea," said Noah. Sam found the controls for the ventilation system. "We could fill the areas where most of the soldiers are with our chemical mixture. It wouldn't hurt them permanently, but it would make them really uncomfortable and confused." "That could work," said Dr. Wilson after a pause. "But you'd need to make sure all humans and friendly aliens are out of those areas first." "We can free more people from the force field," said Sam, "section by section. And we can use the center's emergency lockdown system to trap the Varrics in smaller groups," added Olivia, looking at the map. "That way they can't all attack at once." Grace, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "I know where the emergency supplies are. My mom works in safety and she showed me once. There are gas masks and other things we could use." Dr. Wilson sounded impressed. "You children have thought of more in 30 minutes than we might have in hours. Can you free the section in room E42 next? There are security personnel there who could help organize our resistance." As Sam worked on freeing more adults, Lily looked at her friends. They were scared. She could see it in their eyes, but they were also determined. They had already accomplished things the Variks thought impossible. The Admiral said human kids are supposed to be helpless, she said quietly. He doesn't understand that we've been training for this our whole lives. What do you mean? Asked Noah. Lily smiled. Playing hide and seek, making up games and changing the rules when we need to, building forts, creating weapons out of sticks or toys, finding ways around grown-up rules. Olivia nodded. Human children are good at making something out of nothing, and we're not afraid to try things adults would say are impossible. Sam looked up from the terminal. I've freed another section, and I think I've found a way into the center's communication system. We might be able to call for help. The resistance was growing, and the Variks were about to learn a hard lesson about underestimating human children. Over the next 2 hours, Lily and her friends worked with Dr. Wilson and the growing number of freed adults. Their small rebellion was gaining strength. So far, they had freed 37 people from the force fields and set up a base in the Center's medical bay. Sam created a map on a tablet showing where the Varik soldiers were stationed. Olivia helped plan how to avoid them. Noah mixed more of his chemical spray, teaching others how to make it too. Grace, being the smallest, scouted through narrow passages that even the smallest Variks couldn't fit through. Lily moved between groups, sharing information and keeping everyone's spirits up. For an 8-year-old, she showed remarkable leadership. Dr. Wilson watched the children with amazement. In all my years studying alien species, I've never seen anything like this, he told another scientist. Most species young are completely dependent on adults for protection and guidance. But human children are natural problem solvers, finished the other scientist, Dr. Rivera. They don't know what's impossible yet, so they try things adults wouldn't consider. Their conversation was interrupted when the center's communication system suddenly crackled to life. A deep, rumbling voice spoke in a language Lily didn't understand. Then it switched to English. This is Ambassador Relon of the Murica Confederation. We have detected unauthorized Variks activity at the Earth Cultural Exchange Center. We demand communication with center personnel, or we will assume hostile intent and take appropriate action. Dr. Wilson rushed to the communication panel. This is Dr. Alan Wilson, senior scientist at the center. We are under attack by Variks forces. Most of our people were captured, but we have a growing resistance. We need assistance. Understood, Dr. Wilson. Our ships are 8 hours from your position. Can you hold out that long? Before Dr. Wilson could answer, Admiral Kazatak's voice cut in. This is Admiral Kazatak of the Variks Empire. The human facility is under our control. Any interference will be considered an act of war. Lily tugged on Dr. Wilson's sleeve. Let me talk to them, she whispered. Dr. Wilson looked unsure but handed her the microphone. Hello. My name is Lily Watson. I'm 8 years old. The bug soldiers, I mean the Variks, don't control the building. We've freed lots of people already. They can't catch us kids because their freeze rays don't work right on us. There was a long silence. Then Ambassador Relon spoke again, sounding curious. A human child, you are actively resisting the Variks? Not just me. My friends, too. We're hiding in the vents and using the computer systems. We made special spray that makes the soldiers sick when they breathe it. The Murica ambassador made a sound that might have been a chuckle. Fascinating. Admiral Kuztak, did you hear that? You are being defeated by human children. The Admiral's voice was angry and filled with clicks. Impossible. Their young are physically weaker than adults. They cannot pose a threat. You don't understand humans. Very well, said Relon. Their young may be physically weaker, but they are cognitively unpredictable. This confirms what my people have suspected about humans. Sam, who was working nearby, whispered excitedly to Lily. The aliens are arguing about us. Admiral Kazatak wasn't finished. We have nearly 100 elite soldiers. A handful of immature humans cannot stop us. We will find them and... His transmission cut off suddenly. Sam had figured out how to control the communication system and had muted the Admiral. Sorry, he said with a grin. His voice was annoying me. Dr. Wilson looked worried. I think we just made him angrier. Good, said Noah, carrying in a new batch of his chemical mixture. Angry people make mistakes. Just then, Grace crawled out of a vent opening, her face serious. They're coming this way, at least 20 soldiers. They have some kind of scanner now that can detect our body heat. Dr. Wilson quickly organized the adults. Everyone who can fight, grab whatever weapons we have. Everyone else, find hiding places. We need to hold them off. Lily and her friends huddled together. What can we do? Asked Olivia. They're going to find us now. Lily looked around the medical bay, her mind racing. Then her eyes fell on some equipment in the corner. What's that? She asked, pointing. An alien medical scanner, said Dr. Rivera. It's from the Jeruvian delegation. They use it to see inside bodies without cutting them open. Could it also see through walls? Asked Lily. Dr. Rivera nodded slowly. Yes, I suppose it could, but it's very complicated alien technology. Sam can figure it out, said Lily confidently, and if we can see them coming, we can set traps. While Sam studied the scanner with Dr. Rivera, Lily and the others prepared their defenses. They mixed more chemical spray. They gathered medical supplies that could be used as weapons. Noah found some electrical equipment and started tinkering with it. What are you making? Asked Grace. Remember the science fair project about electromagnets? Noah said. The Variks have metal in their armor. If I can create a strong enough magnetic field, Dr. Wilson overheard and came to help. Together, they built several crude but powerful electromagnets using medical equipment and power cables. Meanwhile, in another part of the center, Admiral Kazatak was furious. 3 of his search teams had gone missing. 17 soldiers were in the medical bay recovering from various injuries and mysterious ailments, and the human resistance was growing stronger. How is this happening? He demanded. They are using primitive chemical weapons, simple traps, and basic technology. Yet my elite forces cannot stop them. His second-in-command approached cautiously. Admiral, I believe we have underestimated the humans, particularly their young. According to our latest scans, the human children are leading the resistance. They move through spaces we cannot access. They think of solutions our soldiers do. Not expect, and they have less fear than logic would dictate. Less fear? They should be terrified. Our warriors are 3 times their size. That may be the key difference, Admiral. In most species, young are programmed to hide from danger and wait for adults to protect them. Human young appear to be programmed to actively respond to threats, often in creative ways. The Admiral's compound eyes narrowed. No matter, our new thermal scanners will find them all soon. Prepare a full assault on their position. Back in the medical bay, Sam had figured out the alien scanner. Look, he said excitedly. I can see all the Varik soldiers moving through the building. They're surrounding us, coming from all directions. Lily looked at the scanner, then at her friends. Despite the danger, there was a spark of excitement in their eyes. This was scary, but it was also the biggest, most important game they had ever played. Okay, she said. Here's what we're going to do. Noah, put your electromagnets at these 3 doorways. Olivia, we need your best trap ideas here and here. Grace, you'll lead a group through the small vent to get behind them. And Sam, keep watching that scanner and tell us when they get close. Dr. Wilson watched in amazement as the adults in the room began taking orders from an 8-year-old girl. What was even more surprising was that her plan actually made sense. As the Varik's forces closed in, Lily felt strangely calm. They think because we're kids we're not dangerous, she said quietly. That's going to be their biggest mistake. The first Varik soldiers were moments away from the medical bay. The battle was about to begin, and through it all, one thought kept running through Admiral Kazatak's mind. How could children, mere offspring, pose such a threat? It defied everything the Variks understood about the natural order of species development. He was about to learn an important lesson about humans. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing isn't the biggest or strongest. Sometimes it's the one you underestimate. The Varik soldiers approached the medical bay from all directions. They moved in perfect formation, weapons ready. Their black armor gleamed under the emergency lights. To anyone watching, it would seem impossible that they could be defeated, especially by a group led by children. Inside the medical bay, Lily checked that everyone was in position. Noah's electromagnets were hidden at 3 entry points, Olivia had set traps along the main corridors, simple but effective ones using medical supplies and everyday objects. Grace and a team of smaller adults had gone through the tiny vents to get behind the enemy. Sam kept his eyes on the alien scanner, giving updates on the soldiers' positions. "They're 20 seconds from the east door," said Sam, 15 from the north, and 30 from the west. Lily nodded. "Get ready, everyone. Remember, we don't have to beat them all. We just have to hold out until help comes." The first Varric soldier appeared at the east doorway. It paused, antenna twitching as it scanned for threats. Seeing nothing obvious, it stepped forward. "Now!" shouted Noah. He pressed a button, activating the electromagnet hidden under a fallen table. Suddenly, the soldier's metal armor pulled sharply toward the table. It stumbled forward, crashing into the powerful magnet. 3 more soldiers behind it suffered the same fate, their weapons and armor sticking to the electromagnet and to each other. "It worked!" yelled Noah, his eyes wide with excitement. At the north entrance, a different trap waited. As 6 Varric soldiers entered in a tight group, Olivia pulled a lever made from a broken IV pole. A net made from examination table sheets fell from the ceiling, tangling the soldiers. At the same time, sprinklers overhead began spraying Noah's chemical mixture. The trapped soldiers began coughing, and their movements became confused and erratic. "South. Entrance is clear," reported Sam. "But I see a lot more coming, at least 30 soldiers heading this way." Lily grabbed a microphone connected to the room's speakers. "Grace, are you in position?" "Yes," came Grace's tiny voice through the radio. "We're right behind the big group of soldiers. Dr. Miller has the thing you asked for." Lily smiled. "Good. Wait for my signal." Through the scanner, they watched as Admiral Kiztak himself joined the approaching force. He was larger than the other Varrics, with bright red markings on his black armor. He clicked orders to his soldiers, reorganizing them after the first 2 groups had been trapped. "He's smart," said Dr. Wilson, watching over Sam's shoulder. "He's not going to fall for the same tricks." "Then we need a new trick," said Lily. She turned to Noah. "What about that sound thing you were working on? Is it ready?" Noah held up a device made from spare parts. "I think so. It should make a high-pitched noise that hurts their hearing but not ours. But it only works in a small area, and I'm not sure how strong it is." "We need to get it close to the Admiral," said Lily. "If we can stop him, maybe the rest will give up." Sam studied the scanner. "There's a service panel in the ceiling right above where they're gathering. If someone could drop it from there." All eyes turned to Grace, who was the smallest, and could move through the tightest spaces. Lily spoke into the radio again. "Grace, new plan. Can you get to the ceiling panel above the Admiral?" There was a pause before Grace answered. "I think so. But I'll need help. Dr. Miller is with you, right? She can help. We need you to drop Noah's sound device right on top of the Admiral, the big bug with red marks." "Okay," said Grace, her voice nervous but determined. "We'll try." Minutes passed as Grace and her team moved into position. Meanwhile, the Varric's forces regrouped. They had brought equipment to counter Noah's chemical spray. They fired special weapons that disabled his electromagnets. Slowly, methodically, they advanced toward the medical bay. "They're adapting to our tricks," said Olivia worriedly. "That's what adults do," said Sam. "They learn from mistakes." "So do kids," said Lily. "We just learn differently." She thought hard for a moment. "Sam, can you still control the building systems from here?" Sam nodded. "Most of them." "Why?" "The Varrics have sensors in their antennae, right? They use them to detect us. What if we overload those sensors?" Sam's eyes lit up. "The environmental controls. We could create extreme changes in temperature, light, and sound, all at once." "Would that hurt the people on our side too?" asked Lily. "Not if we warn them what's coming," said Sam. "And I can limit it to just the areas where the Varrics are." Dr. Wilson nodded approval. "It could work. Their sensory systems are much more sensitive than ours." Sam quickly explained the plan to Grace through the radio. Then he set to work on the environmental controls while Noah and Olivia prepared the remaining adults for what was coming. "Everyone cover your eyes and ears when the lights flash," Lily told the group. It's going to get very bright and loud, then very dark and cold. Outside the medical bay, Admiral Kaztak was losing patience. Enough games, he told his soldiers. We will capture these humans and their young. No more caution, full assault. Just as the Variks prepared to charge, Sam activated his program. The lights in the corridors suddenly blazed with blinding intensity. All speakers blasted a terrible, screeching noise. The temperature plummeted rapidly, then shot up to uncomfortably hot levels. Air vents blasted powerful gusts of wind carrying Noah's chemical mixture. The Varik soldiers reeled from the sensory overload. Their sensitive antennae twitched wildly. Many dropped their weapons to cover their sensing organs. At that exact moment, Grace opened the ceiling panel above Admiral Kazatak. She dropped Noah's sound device directly onto the Admiral's head. It activated on impact, emitting a high-frequency tone that specifically targeted the Varik's auditory system. The Admiral screeched in pain and confusion. His coordinated attack dissolved into chaos as soldiers bumped into each other, unable to see or hear properly. Now, shouted Lily into the radio, everyone push. Grace and her team, who had prepared a cart loaded with medical equipment, pushed it down the sloping corridor. It rolled quickly, gaining speed until it crashed into the disoriented group of Varik soldiers, scattering them like bowling pins. Back, in the medical bay, the humans watched through Sam's scanner as the Varik's forces fell into complete disarray. Soldiers fled in different directions. Others curled into defensive balls, overwhelmed by the sensory assault. Admiral Kazatak stumbled away from the noise device, his movements uncoordinated. Through the scanner, they could see him sending urgent signals on his communication device. He's calling for help, said Dr. Wilson. Or maybe he's calling for retreat, finished Olivia with a grin. The scanner showed Varik soldiers moving away from the medical bay, back toward their ships. The Admiral was the last to leave, his antennae drooping and his once proud posture now hunched. As the environmental conditions returned to normal, a cheer went up from the humans. They had won this battle using nothing but creativity, teamwork, and the unique way human children approached problems. Grace and her team returned to the medical bay to a hero's welcome. The smallest girl beamed with pride when Lily hugged her. We did it, said Lily. We really did it. Dr. Wilson patted her shoulder. Yes, you did. And in doing so, you've taught the galaxy something important about humans. What's that? Asked Sam. Dr. Wilson smiled. That sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't the biggest or strongest creature. Sometimes it's the one that thinks differently. The one that sees possibilities where others see limitations. The one that turns everyday objects into tools and weapons, in other words, human children. Outside the center, the Varik ships prepared to leave, but the fight wasn't completely over. Help was still 8 hours away, and Admiral Kazatak was wounded but not defeated. For the moment, though, the children had earned a rest. They had proven what they were capable of, and somewhere in deep space, Ambassador Rilan of America was sending urgent messages to the Galactic Council. Revise all threat assessments of humans immediately. Their young are not to be underestimated under any circumstances. The next few hours were tense but quiet. The Variks had retreated to their ships, but they hadn't left Earth's orbit. Through the center's long-range scanners, Dr. Wilson and the children watched the alien vessels hovering nearby. Why aren't they leaving? Asked Lily. She and her friends sat in the center's cafeteria, eating snacks they had found. Despite their victory, they were tired. It was well past midnight, and they had been fighting for hours. They're waiting for something, said Dr. Wilson. Maybe reinforcements. Or maybe they're just too embarrassed to go home, said Noah with a grin. Imagine telling their bosses they got beaten by a bunch of kids. Everyone laughed, but the tension remained. Help from the America was still hours away, and they didn't know if the Variks would attack again. Sam checked his tablet, which was connected to the center's security systems. The Variks still have control of the main landing bay, and there are about 30 adults trapped there. Lily frowned. We need to free those people before the Variks leave. They might take them as prisoners. Olivia, always the planner, spread out a map of the center. The landing bay has wide open spaces. We won't have vents or small passages to hide in, and our tricks won't work a second time. The Varex will be ready for them." The children fell silent, thinking hard. Then Grace, who had been quiet for a while, spoke up. "What if we don't trick them? What if we talk to them instead?" Everyone looked at her in surprise. "Talk to them?" asked Dr. Wilson. "The Varex aren't known for their willingness to negotiate, especially when they're losing." "But that's just it," said Grace. "They've already lost. They know it. We know it. Maybe they just need a way to leave without feeling completely defeated." Dr. Rivera, who had been listening nearby, nodded slowly. "The child has a point. Many species have strict honor codes. The Varex are warriors. Being defeated by children would be deeply shameful in their culture. So we give them a way out. That doesn't shame them," said Lily, understanding Grace's idea. "But how?" Sam had been working on his tablet. "I think I can access their communication system. We could talk to Admiral Kazatak directly." The adults looked uncertain, but Lily nodded firmly. "Let's do it." Minutes later, Sam had established a connection to the Varex flagship. Admiral Kazatak's face appeared on the screen, his compound eyes glittering with anger. "What do you want, human young, to gloat over your temporary victory?" Lily stepped forward, trying to look as grown-up as possible. "No, Admiral. We want to offer you a deal." The Admiral's antennae twitched with surprise. "A deal? What could you possibly offer me?" "A way for everyone to win," said Lily. "You came here to study humans, right? To learn about us?" "That was our mission, yes. To understand your species, unusual development patterns. Then we'll give you what you came for, information about human children. Real, honest information, not just observations. In exchange, you free all your prisoners and leave Earth peacefully." Admiral Kazatak's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "What kind of information?" "We'll tell you everything about how human children learn and grow, why we're different from the young of other species, why we can be dangerous even though we're small." Lily looked at her friends, who nodded encouragement. "We'll even answer your questions directly. No tricks, no traps." The Admiral was silent for a long moment, then he said, "Why should I trust you?" "Because we could have destroyed your ships," said Sam, stepping forward. "While you were attacking us, I found a way into your ship's computer systems. I could have shut down your life support or engines, but I didn't." This wasn't exactly true. Sam had only managed to access their communication system, but the Admiral didn't know that. "The boy speaks truth," said Admiral Koztak, his antennae drooping slightly. "Our systems detected intrusion attempts." "We don't want to hurt anyone," said Lily. "We just want everyone to be safe. So do we have a deal?" The Admiral's compound eyes stared at them for what seemed like forever. Then he nodded slowly. "Very well. Release my soldiers trapped in your facility, and I will release the humans in our custody. Then we will talk." 2 hours later, an unusual meeting took place in the center's main conference room. On one side sat Admiral Kazatak and 3 of his officers. On the other side sat Lily, Sam, Noah, Olivia, and Grace, along with Dr. Wilson and Dr. Rivera. "Begin your explanation," said the Admiral. "Why are human young so different from other species?" For the next hour, the children explained how humans grow and learn. They talked about schools and playgrounds, about make-believe, games and sports, about how human children learn by trying and failing and trying again. "We practice solving problems all the time," explained Noah. "That's basically what playing is. And we're good at making up new rules when old ones don't work," added Olivia. "Plus, human grown-ups encourage us to be creative," said Grace. "They don't expect us to just follow orders blindly. Most importantly," said Sam, "human children aren't afraid to try impossible things because we don't know they're supposed to be impossible." The Varex officers took notes and asked questions. Slowly, their posture changed from hostile to curious. Even Admiral Kazatak seemed genuinely interested. "Fascinating," he said finally. "In our species, the young remain in protective hives until fully mature. They are taught only to obey, never to question or create. This gives our adults strength and discipline, but perhaps at a cost I had not considered. Just then, the center's alarm sounded again. But this time, it was good news. Murica vessels have entered Earth orbit, announced the computer. Varric ships are standing down. Later, as the Murica peacekeepers took control of the situation, Ambassador Relon visited the children. The tall, cat-like alien bowed deeply. To them, "You have done something remarkable today," he told them. "Not only have you defended your home, but you have changed how the galaxy will view humans forever." "We just did what kids do," said Lily with a shrug. "We played games, made up rules, and used our imagination." "And that," said the ambassador with a rumbling purr that might have been a laugh, "is exactly what makes human children so uniquely dangerous." In the days that followed, the story of 5 elementary school children who defeated an alien invasion force spread throughout Earth and beyond. Scientists and military leaders studied their tactics. Diplomats included their insights in new treaties. And in the Great Galactic Encyclopedia, a new warning was added to the entry on humans. Unlike most sentient species, human danger does not correlate with physical maturity. Their offspring should be considered as unpredictable and potentially more dangerous than adults due to reduced risk assessment, heightened creativity, and absence of conventional limitations. As for Lily, Sam, Noah, Olivia, and Grace, they returned to school the following week with quite a story to tell about their field trip. Their teachers gave them an A+ on their "What I Learned About Aliens" reports. And at recess, their game of humans versus Varrics became the most popular activity on the playground. After all, no one plays pretend quite like human children, and sometimes that's the most powerful ability of all.